Greetings, Benjamin J. from BENZTRAINZ with another in the series. Well, a new arrival, and as I stress, don't overlook the junk. As you can see, this is a Marx long 898. Now, this has to be one of the worst condition engines I have ever bought. This was from eBay, $7 with a nickel plate tender. So this just arrived not an hour ago. And it was a barn find, and as you can see, this engine was just eaten alive with rust. The body is all rusted, there's rust on the outside, and this engine had not run in decades. It was just absolutely frozen solid. Surprisingly enough, all I've had to do so far is break it loose and oil it. I had to reattach the main power line and put a light bulb in it. And the engine's up and running. It's actually running really well, forward and reverse. So I just wanted to do a quick video on this. As I always stress, don't overlook the junk engines. This was $7 with the nickel plate road tender. Hard to beat that. And in less than probably half an hour, the engine was up and running, and it's actually running really well. So just put it on the rail, ran it on the bench, got everything broken loose and oiled. And the 898, the long 898, is about the size of a 666. It's a big stamped steel engine, mostly just empty space with the standard Marx motor in it. So I've got, I think, 11 Lionel cars on the rail. So let's couple this up and take it around the track and see how it runs. So this is the first run on the track. I ran it on the bench and it's running quite well. So let's see how it does pulling a load. There's reverse. So as you see, this little engine is running really well. So the engine and the nickel plate road tender for $7.50. So what I will do is repaint this. You can see it's missing the handrail. But it won't take much to bring this back to life. I mean, this engine was trashed. It was being sold strictly for parts. And when I buy these things, even when I buy them for parts, I do my best to get them running. And in this case, it didn't take really that much to do it. Breaking the motor loose, oiling it, scraping all the junk and the gunk and the crud out of it. But it's up and running, and it's running really well, which is really surprising. So the Marx long 898. This isn't a very common engine. I've only seen one of them, and this is it. I've read about them, of course. But for $7 and about a half hour's of work, and it's up and running. So what I'll do is just pull all the finials off and respray this. I can use some probably brass or steel wire to remake the handrails if I put them back on. I bought this just for the motor, but like I said, when I buy a motor for parts, I do my best to get it running. And if I can't get it running, of course, then I strip it and cannibalize it for parts for the other engines. But in this case, it didn't take that much. It was just a matter of getting it broken loose, getting all the crud and the junk out of it. It had been sitting someplace for decades. So this probably has not run in my lifetime. Difficult to say. It had been a long time since this was on a rail. But it's up and running. Put a new headlight in it. Soldered the power wire back onto the main contactor. The rest of it was just cleaning and lubing and basically scraping the junk out of the bearings and the gearing. It was just terrible. You could tell that it had been stored someplace. It said it was a barn find, and I believe it, because it was just full of organic junk. So hard to say where it's been and for how long. But a Marx long 898 is up and running. Came complete with a nickel plate road tender. $7.50. Got here about an hour ago. Something like that. And like I said, frozen absolutely solid. And most of what I've done to it was just literally scraping all the organic matter out of it. It was just absolutely packed full of junk. No idea what it was. It was organic. It looked almost like plant material. So it could have been part of a rat's nest. Difficult to say. But, excuse me. It's up and running. Total cost $7.50 with a nickel plate road tender. Haven't done anything to it yet except get it running. So I will spray this down, clean it up, very likely. I'll pull it apart, repaint it. Have a really nice engine for $7. Runs really well. You couldn't ask for it to run better, forward and reverse. So as I always stress, don't overlook the junk. These engines are extremely easy to fix. The motors are simple, they're straightforward, they're really robust. And you can see still how dirty this is. Like I said, I haven't done anything to it at all other than oil it, break it loose on the bench. And I have a small test transformer I use on the bench to test the motors. And this was its first run on a rail. So, working well, running well. And with a little bit of attention, you can clean these things up and make them look virtually new. And it would only take a few hours work to repaint this and make it look as a very respectable, presentable early Marx engine. So the long 898, first one I've ever seen. Read about them, of course, but first opportunity I've had of actually working on one. So found it on eBay as a barn find, $7.50 with the tender. An hour's work, something like that. It's up and running, and it's running really well. So I'll run this one the rest of the day and then decide whether I'm going to take it apart and paint it. I'm definitely not going to use it for parts. When you find a motor that runs this well, there's no point in tearing it apart. You can just take the motor out and drop it into a much nicer shell. But in this case, it's an engine you don't see very often. It's an early Marx engine in really decent condition. There's no damage to it. It's just it's been sitting for so long, the rust has eaten straight through the paint. So it wouldn't take much to clean this up, repaint it, and have a really nice running 898 for $7.50. Really difficult to beat that. So I just wanted to do a quick video. Like I said, this just got here. I have another box. I've got another 666 that came in today. I'll be doing that one next. But this one was in really terrible condition, and it's up and running. So as I always stress, don't overlook the junk. You can find these things cheap, and if you understand how these motors work, it doesn't take very much to get them running. They are quite robust, almost indestructible. So I just want to do a quick video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, BENZTRAINZ@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching.